Reunited with my ex at the haunted lake house. They say weddings bring out the best in people, but for me, it's just a chance to face my worst nightmare. Noah. It's been 10 years since we broke up, and that should be enough for me to let it go, right? I think so too, but somehow it isn't. Whenever I'm not near him, I think just fine. I can breathe. I remember that we were not together anymore because of how complicated everything was and how I couldn't deal with him. Time has passed, and life went by. If I repeat this often, I should be able to convince myself. As we stand by the lobby, our rooms assigned and all, I check Noah out of the corner of my eye and pretend he's nothing but an old friend. "Your room will be 406, sir," the gentleman said, giving me the key card. "Thanks." "So Liam," Susan said first, "how about some drinks?" "Sure," I replied, uncertain since I would see Jane and Noah going the same way. The bar looked nice, totally different from my early memories. Actually, the whole place got renewed. There used to be an amusement park within the perimeters. The hotel always seemed like it'd fall, and boy, we used to be there every summer vacation. Swimming by the lake, park, walks, playing around. Jane's mother's family owned the haunted lake house, and they recently bought the rest, turning it into a new spot, unique and elegant, but still reminiscent of the old aspects. The house itself was now a restaurant. I couldn't check inside the room because I was walking by the table, but it would be as pretty as downstairs if I were to bet. "Look who the wind brought," the happy blonde-haired bride-to-be said. "Actually, your parents," I said, laughing. "That's true," Susan agreed. "Is that the real meaning of nepotism?" Noah jumped into the conversation. "I can't say no," Jane laughed back. "Well, Noah," Susan began, "how are things in the new job?" The waiter left us 4 drinks that I recognized as cosmopolitans, and I had to hold a laugh. I took a sip, and it was sweet and refreshing. It tasted like my first hangover motive. "Being a journalist sucks," he laughed loudly. "If I remember well, that's what you dreamed of," I mentioned, drinking a bit more. "And you, Master Chef?" he replied. "The kitchen is all you ever thought it would be?" I made a bad face, and they all laughed. If I knew how many bruises I'd have in this line of work, I should have chosen to be a mechanic like Dad wanted, I joked. "Okay, fair. But Liam, can you even change a flat tire?" Jane asked before stuffing the cherry inside her mouth. "Am I here to be roasted?" "You started it," Noah laughed, sipping in too. Looking from outside, I knew they could never imagine what was going on in my mind. I often remembered school days when all the 4 of us would do was study, go out, and date. First them both, then us two. In my senior year, everything was smooth, crystal, and genuinely happy. Noah's parents died in a car accident in our first year of college, and after that, everything messed up. I couldn't understand what he was going through. My parents were trying to make me change courses and, of course, marry a woman and start a family. Because of this, I repeated the first year at culinary school and finished my course with Susan, now a pastry chef. I opened my own bakery 3 years ago, and Jane, our dear food critic, helped me with good connections and articles, one of which was inside Noah's journal place. Even if we didn't talk much, it was clear that he and I weren't in a bad place. I sponsored events for the journal too, and we had this quiet and unseen dynamic, which is why I was there, sitting across from him, without a single objection to be made. "That's my cue to go for a smoke." I stood up, and a very loud thunder stormed around our ears, startling me. "I'll go anyway," I said to all of them and nobody at the same time. But just as I stepped out of the table, the rain fell heavy, so thick that I could almost feel it over me, even with the roof above us. "You better not," Jane said sarcastically. I looked at her as if she was a toddler. "Really?" She just laughed and finished her fiancé's drink. I sat again and some food came in. They started blabbering about something and I was too focused on the dip sauce with some french fries to give some importance to the subject. This is really good, I mentioned while eating. Do you eat with your new boyfriend this eagerly? Noah asked suddenly, and I choked. Susan and Jane too, and oh my, I wanted to reply, but luckily, I spit the sauce right onto my lap, making a mess out of my clothes. Jesus, Noah, I cursed, not believing what I just heard. Grow up much? I heard Jane whispering, "You're screwed." But I just left the bar and walked by my room, trying to ignore whatever that was. Was he trying to pick me or what? Talking trash was one of his best qualities and flaws, but damn. He knew I didn't have a boyfriend. He knew. Everyone knows. Ever since he and the fiasco with my own wedding, I haven't dated a single soul and didn't intend to, so why did he have to say that? The jerk on him would always win. That's why we broke up, too. Thank you, Noah, for the fresh memory. Bloody hell. Was that place turning everyone into stupid teenagers again, or what? Opening my room, I only wanted a spare of clothes and a bath. That night was done. The wedding was in the afternoon. I could sleep plenty if... Oh my... No. My eyes weren't working. It must have been a brain bleeding. I was delusional. That was not a goddamn raindrop above my bed, was it? If it was, that meant I could not sleep there. The bath would be delayed. I'd have to change rooms, and now my sleep-off is postponed. Life was great. Did I spit gum in the cross or what? Sighing, I called the reception. Just a few minutes later, I was back in the lobby, Susan by my side. "You're saying?" she said, taking the words out of my mouth. "We're sorry, but there are no rooms available. As you're in a big group, could you share the room with someone else?" "I don't know any of these people well enough for that," I said angrily. "Well," Susan said in a low voice, "there's Noah." "No way." "Liam, be reasonable. Where will you stay?" "I can drive back to town and sleep somewhere else. I'll be back tomorrow." "I'm afraid you won't be going anywhere, sir," he said calmly. "Excuse me?" I asked, outraged. "There's a storm in. All the roads are closed." "Excuse me?" Susan asked this time. And that was the exact moment Jane came in, upset with someone over the phone. "Darling, Samantha just called, and she's saying they'll have to postpone the wedding because of the weather," she said with tears in her eyes. No, what?" "It seems right, ma'am," the receptionist said. "We were just about to inform you." "Liam," Susan called me in a serious tone that even I wouldn't dare to mess with. "You're staying in Noah's, and that's it." "He what?" Jane and Noah gasped. "I don't care. Send someone to pick up his things, okay?" She looked at the man at that point, and he just nodded. "You," she said, talking to her girlfriend now. "Let's go fix this." I felt like a lost kid being scolded by his parents, so I just stood there while Noah shook his shoulders, lost and defeated. "I need another drink." Ignoring it, I accepted the spare key card and went to the second floor. His room was the same as mine, and I thanked the Almighty when I saw the double single bed. I could feel my whole body sticky from the sauce still in, so I entered the bathroom without thinking twice. The bath was hot and warm, exactly what I needed. I stood there for almost half an hour, and when I finished drying up, I returned to the room and remembered my bag wasn't there yet. It was time for a deep breath. When I called reception, they told me the bag had been misplaced in another room and that it would take a while to retrieve it because they were trying to contact the room's owner, who had just left for dinner. Great. The room was colder than water, of course, and because of it, I started getting pissed off. Time passed on the clock, and nothing on about my bag. My toes were getting purple by then, and I finally realized Noah's clothes stood above his bed. He wouldn't mind, right? Even if he would, I couldn't care less. I looked for a long-sleeve blouse and a pair of pants. I felt my body warming up once I finished putting it in, and that was the time Noah chose to enter the room. "What the?" Please don't. He laughed in a low tone. I wasn't going to. Yes, you were. He laughed again. Yes, I was. So don't. They misplaced my bag. I was cold. Am I forgiven? I'll think about it. The smirk on his face was pissing me off even more. I'll look for my clothes, I said, and closed the door behind us. It took them more than 30 minutes to find the bloody bag, and when I finally had it in my hands, together with a voucher for the bar, I came upstairs, dying to get inside my clothes and get some sleep. I couldn't hear anything as I opened the door, so I picked up my pajamas and went to the bathroom. By that, the door opened itself. Not itself, but Noah did at the same time, and I bumped into his naked body. I almost fell over, and he grabbed me by the waist. I could feel his warm skin, the scent of soap, and his stupid laugh. Damn, Liam, if you want to remember, why don't you ask? For God's sake, Noah, can't you see I'm in the middle of a misfortunate day here? I get off his grip, and I turn back as he doesn't seem bothered by his nudity. The bathroom is all yours, he says. I just give up and let out a soft laugh while I get in and change into my own fabrics. Back in the room, I give it back to him. Thanks, though. Be my guest. I stay silent, and so does he. I finally lay in the bed, and my whole body was sore from the tension. I feel like I'll finally be able to rest, and while I feel the dreams coming right in, I double-check the time, confirming it's past midnight. I heard a yawn from him, and I couldn't help but do it too. Relaxing a bit more, we hear a creepy sound coming from somewhere, and I instantly regret coming back there. I stay silent, trying to get a grip and fall asleep, but the noises come back from another point. Wasn't this place renewed? Noah asked in the darkness. I've always told you, this place is haunted, I replied lowly. Must be the Babadook, he said. Or Bloody Mary. His laughter echoed in the room, and I felt a strange sense of familiarity. Sleepy Hollow? Maybe Bigfoot? I suggested. No way, he said. That's too big to be inside the walls. You're right. Maybe it's my old boss trying to hunt me down. He laughed. Did you give him that much of a hard time? Maybe. Memories of the fights at work and the mess in the kitchen came through my eyes, and I laughed in the dark. More noises came in, cracking at the walls, and I turned to the other side of the bed. Do you think Susan and Jane are okay? I asked after a while. Yeah, the forecast said it'd be quick since it was unannounced. Hope so. They deserve the best wedding ever. The room went silent, and I thought I'd be ignored when his voice came in. I think so too. Good night, Liam. I could do nothing but reply, and after a little bit, I finally fell asleep. The sun was up again, and if it weren't for the rain on the floor and the little mess in the gardens, I wouldn't even say it was such bad weather last night. I served myself some eggs and bacon, and as I was about to set the table, the brides-to-be appeared happily with Noah by their sides, and remembered how relieved I was when I woke up and I didn't see him there. After that small talk, I couldn't stare at him, the guilt in my throat eating me up. Aside from our little white flag, it was clear we had unspoken things, and being so close, even for some hours, was enough to pump all that up, and I wanted to avoid that the most. I have good news, Jane said, sitting with her coffee. The wedding will need to happen tomorrow. They said it wasn't that much of a mess, so they'll finish cleaning up by lunch, and we'll get married in the afternoon. I smiled, truly happy for them. That's good, girls. Congratulations. Save for the cake, sweetie, Susan mocked me. But this means our little haunted lake tour won't be happening, Jane mentioned. There's so much to do by then. I'll go crazy. No, you won't, Noah laughed, sipping his own black coffee, a detail that didn't change all these years. Of course you won't, Susan laughed too. I won't allow it on my wedding day. That's why I love you so much. Noah stood up and went by the food plate, and before I could catch up to him, a gorgeous blonde man appeared in front of us, and I honestly got startled by his beauty. Hey, Jane, he said, the accent strong. Oh my, Alex! I didn't think you were gonna make it. She stood up, hugging him before turning to me. Liam, this is Alex, Susan's cousin from Australia. I vaguely remembered her mentioning that part of her family, but I stood up too anyway. We exchanged a polite hug, and it turned out to be a really pleasant talk. I thought you liked each other, Susan mumbled. Enjoy your morning. She winked at me. After some minutes, I felt a wide stare on my back, and I followed the sensation. I found Noah looking at me from the corner. He had either another or the same cup of coffee in his hand, and his eyes were glancing at me as if he were irritated. I kept talking, but didn't move an inch, staring at me as if he was cursing my smiles. Rolling my eyes, I asked Alex to excuse me and went to solve some work things on my laptop before getting ready for the wedding. The clock passed by fast, and when I finished working on the new menu for the event I was attending, I realized I only had some quick time for a shower. I didn't meet Noah in the room, which was good, but I should never think my luck was by my side. Right upon the stairs of the garden, I saw Alex talking to guess who? Noah. And they weren't just talking. There were hands touching, arm grabbing. Great. Now I was supposed to watch my ex-boyfriend get a new one while my best friend got married in my dream place. I stormed at them before I could think and interrupted the talking. Noah, can I talk to you for a bit? He raised an elbow, but agreed. Alex got away, and we walked closer to the panels full of flowers that I just finished. What? What? I asked. You want to talk to me, Noah answered harshly. Never mind. I already forgot what it was anyway. You gotta be kidding me, he grumbled. I'm sorry, bad memory, I said, trying to understand what the heck I was doing. Noah grabbed my arm and stopped me from walking away, and I wanted to stick my head inside the earth under me. Did you interrupt me just for that? Are you that much of a kid? What? Is this word all you know? He replied angrily. I've said I'm sorry. When I remember what I was supposed to tell you, I'll come back. We stared at each other for what seemed like a whole year. He knew I was lying. I knew it too, but nothing could be done. I felt his grip soften as I breathed in relief. He finally said, How was it? Almost getting married. My throat shut and my hands shook slightly, but I couldn't escape his eyes. The truth came up faster than I could control. A nightmare. Oh, I bet. Dumping me and getting married to some cute girl must have been so difficult. You know it wasn't like that. My voice was just sad. He wasn't right, but he wasn't wrong either. Enlighten me, please. The sarcasm in his tone was crystal clear. Noah, now's not the time. You're right. Somebody needs to die first, right? That stung deep. This was not fair. So tell me, was the panties world too uncomfortable, or did she realize you like wearing them more than her? That was it. I grabbed him from the shirt collar, pissed but uncertain of what to do. He was stronger, and we both knew that. Yet he let me keep holding on to it. There was a fire between us, too much hurt. And in between, I realized I missed him so much, and I knew he could see it in my eyes. Finally, a reaction. Want a kiss? He asked sarcastically as he pushed my arm off him. Oh, you're so annoying, I said, giving up. And yet you wanted to marry me, he screamed as I walked out from there, trying to set my mind back to the wedding that I was about to start. All the guests were gathered in such a beautiful place, and I went to my best man's place. I was on Jane's side and Noah on Susan's. The woman officiating them was an old professor of ours who helped us all during the hard times of our teenage years, coming out, grief, growing up. She spoke kindly about the brides, and while her speech echoed inside my head, all I could see was Noah standing in front of me in a suit so perfectly made he looked divine. He felt my stare probably because at some point his eyes met mine. I didn't pretend I wasn't by then, just kept staring and analyzing him, remembering. We were so happy, and yet it took one dark accident and I lost my balance. After his parents died, he went to live with his aunt, and my parents took me into a treatment program to try to take me off the wrong path. I couldn't see him as much at the time, since he lived far away, and I was surrounded by guilt and doubts. Eventually, I don't recall how, but I ended the year dating a girl they chose for me, and I felt like there was nothing to do but go with it. I was given some pills I now know it wasn't needed, and all that time seemed like the blur in my head. I managed to break up with the girl right before we could get married, and with Jane's help, I lived on her couch for almost a year before being able to afford my own place. Escaping home wasn't easy, but it was the best thing I could do. My dad didn't talk to me until I opened a bakery, and even now, we don't have a good relationship, but we pretend to. I regretted never reaching out to Noah, explaining all that happened and saying I'm sorry. I couldn't blame him for anything that crossed his mind. After all, I was the idiot who dumped him for some girl while all we did was dream about our lives together. He didn't deserve any of that. His loss, my disappearance, and lack of explanation. Not that would make any difference, but still. While Jane and Susan exchanged vows, all I could think was of my own vows for him. The ones he would have heard at the same spot, because that was our dream place, even though we were sure it was haunted. He didn't take his eyes off mine, and that was the cue I needed to be able to look for him once the two brides there shared their first married kiss, which happened not much after that. I lost him in the crowd as soon as the open bar started, and I could feel my heart hurting. Somehow, I knew I would never have another if I lost the chance. Passing through all the smiling faces, I finally found him. I walked the fastest I could, and when I reached him, he already knew what it was about. I could never mislead him. He knew me too well. Out of breath, I called out his name. "You should breathe a little bit." I rolled my eyes. "You think so?" I replied, annoyed. But then I did exactly that. I took a long, deep breath before asking, "Can I have a dance?" He looked at me so seriously that I thought my heart would stop beating too fast. "Sure." I touched his hands, and he touched my waist, leading me to the dance floor. A slow song was on, and we just stood there, silent. I should be the one to say something first. I knew that, but yet it was so hard to find the right words. "Noah." He mumbled. "I know it's a bit late for that, but I felt like if I didn't say something now, I wouldn't have another shot." "Go on." He was so condescending, and even that was fun about him. "I'm sorry for that time. That's all I can say. I could never marry anyone else, even more a woman." He stayed quiet, his body moving in rhythm, taking me along. "Can you please say something?" I begged. "I'm thinking," he replied. "About?" "Did she really catch you wearing her panties?" I gave out a big laugh. "Only in your crazy dreams." "That's bad. I feel better if it did have happened." "You really thought about that, didn't you?" I mocked. "Blame this on Susan. She told me it happened." "She did what?" I laughed again, and he grabbed my waist a bit stronger, making me lose breath. "Of course. She told me what actually happened, Liam, and I'm sorry about all that." "Oh." I didn't know how to act, so I just decided it was better to take it all off the hook. "I'm sorry too, Noah. I should have never let you go that way." He gave me a smirk. I knew too well either. "So, you're gonna leave me again?" I felt a drip right above my nose, and as I lifted my head, I could see the clouds heavy upon us, bringing another wave of rain. Everybody was surprised, and gasps became laughter when Susan and Jane started playing with the water. I looked back at him, uncertain but confident. "This means I can have a second chance?" He touched my face with a warm hand, which was completely opposite to the cold rain that soaked us in this place. "Don't screw up this time," he said right before kissing me. As I felt his touch, all the memories that once were bittersweet were replaced by the reassurance that even though we hurt each other, now we could do it all over again, and right this time. After that day, Noah and I decided to take things slow, but we decided to only ignore it later than we used to when we were young. It was hard to stay away or act mature once we had each other back. Soon, we would ourselves living together, and before I could blink, Noah was there on one knee, proposing to spend the rest of our lives together in his classic, annoyingly sarcastic manner. The end. What do you think Noah thought about Liam's heterosexuality struggle all this time? Thanks for watching. Consider subscribing to become a part of our Rainbow Force, and stay wholesome.